Before becoming a chef, I was very troubled in my mind and I didn't quite know who I was. I always escaped into gastronomy when things got the toughest. Up until I met my wife, everything was just a waiting game. I was waiting for something to happen. And when I fell in love, it all made sense. We work together as a team. She is the restaurant manager and the CEO of the place. I am running the kitchen. And that love, it is also what inspires the restaurant. People travel from all over the world to work with us, and they come here and we will make them feel like they're joining a family. You cannot get a great dish out of a sad chef. It's impossible. So you need to make your staff feel loved so they can love what you do and give that love to the guest. Jordnær can be translated directly to being down to earth. And it's a way of being and a way of acting in life. And down to earth just covers so many bases because it's also down to earth ingredients we work with, even if it's the high quality caviar, but it is all well made with respect for the fish. Before it becomes a great product, it needs to be a good life. And being down to earth, it's our philosophy, it's our DNA. When we started the restaurant, we didn't have any money, so we got an offer to put our restaurant inside a 3-star hotel on the outskirts of Copenhagen. We started out by selling Tina's Rolex watch and a diamond ring to buy the first plates and the first fish. So it's also very down to earth in that way. It's what fills the room which is important and not the room itself. That's also a way of being down to earth. Some might think that the greatest achievement we have made is 2 Michelin stars and the service award. And yes, we are very proud of that, and it is one of the finer achievements we made in life. But the greatest achievement will every day be to have 2 worlds working together, like on the personal side with 6 kids and a professional life running a top restaurant in Denmark without compromising either side. That is the essence of Jordnær.
It's our great pleasure to welcome to our 2024 Online Trend Summit, Chef Erik Vildgaard, chef and co-founder of the magnificent 3 Michelin star restaurant Jordnær in Copenhagen. We're going to be discussing Jordnær's culinary philosophy, the factors that influence Erik and his team's cooking, the journey through the dining experience at Jordnær, why time and generosity are so important, and a little bit on the future of fine dining. Erik, it's a great honor to welcome you to our virtual stage today. Thank you so much for being part of this year's summit.
It's me who says thank you. It's a great pleasure and a great honor to be part of the trend seminar here. So thank you for inviting me.
It's our great pleasure. We'll kick off with a discussion in just a moment, but just a note to all of those participating in today's summit. If you're a Trend Hub subscriber, you can discover more about the topics covered in this discussion in our 2025-2026 food and drink trends framework, particularly in No Rules, which is within the higher level trend that we called Eat Happy, and of course within our extensive cuisines and ingredients framework. So Erik, if we may, I think we'll jump in, if that's okay. I wanted to start by congratulating you on receiving your 3rd Michelin star in May this year. Wayne and I were lucky enough to visit literally a few days after that was announced. So congratulations. And we'll talk more about what Michelin and Michelin stars mean to you. But I know that your journey to this point has included, of course, some highs, but also some lows as well. And I wonder if you could just give us an overview of your early life and how you got to this point, if I may.
Yeah, but I have had a very ruffled past, you can say. So I'm born and raised in a suburban area to Copenhagen
Yeah,
with poor parents, in what they categorized as a ghetto.
yeah.
And like all stories go, I got involved in criminality in a very young age. I was very aggressive, very out of order in many
Mhm.
ways. So that escalated very quickly when I became a teen.
Mhm.
It's being involved in some more organized stuff
Mhm.
and a little bit more planned, not just a little bit of trouble, but big trouble. So I was institutionalized.
Mhm.
By that, I was sent out on a boat because they wanted to like really. I was kicked out of a youth detention center,
Yeah,
and I was put on a boat because they just needed me to get away from the region from
yeah.
there. On this boat, there was nothing to do, and I was super bored about like just being there. And it was like a Polish crew and a Danish captain,
Uh-huh.
and it was super boring. So
Yeah.
I went to the pantry, started making a cake,
Okay.
and the way I could convey like happiness by making a cake for these hardcore sailors. I was, even though I was a troubled mind, I was still just a young teen amongst the big Polish sailors. So all of a sudden I was a tiny mouse. I was not that tough, but I made them very happy by doing something extra for them.
Yeah. Okay.
And this that led to the start of my journey as a chef,
Okay.
because then I came back from all these detention centers and all this, and I straight away got back into my old habits with my old friends, because it's hard to break the circle,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
you're searching for, how to put it, a little bit of like comfort.
Yeah.
So that is what that environment sort of like gives you. It gives you a purpose. It gives
Yeah.
you um, some love. Let's call it that,
Yeah.
which I truly don't believe it is, but it gives you some sort of like a place to belong.
Yeah.
So by that, I was getting increasingly more and more criminal. And every time I needed to escape myself, I looked into to working in kitchens, due to the fact that my older brother is also a chef,
Yeah.
and he
Okay.
was asking me, "Can you give me a hand with a function, or every now and then?" And it was supernatural for me to be in the kitchen, because the structure in the kitchen is the same as in a gang.
Right. Okay.
There's not a lot of difference. It's like there's an action and a reaction, and it's very direct. So if you on the street make a mistake, you're probably gonna be punched in your face or so, or even worse.
Yeah.
But if you do it in the kitchen, it affects the whole team towards like the guest experience.
Yeah. Okay.
So the hierarchy is more or less the same. The structure is the same. There's like action and reaction straight away, and you get impact right away
Yeah.
from when you put something into a plate and send it. Yeah, either the guest is happy or
Yeah.
unhappy.
Yeah. 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 So would you say that, I mean, do you think cooking has, yeah, saved you? I guess is
Definitely,
that, yeah.
definitely, cooking have saved me, but not just cooking, because it brings me a little bit more forward in the story, to because my life really first changed for real when I met my wife Tina. But that is only 9 years ago. I'm 40 years old,
Okay.
and that was when I started to work for real as a chef for myself, for my own purpose.
Okay.
For not just use it as an outlet, but like working as a chef.
Yeah. Okay.
So I met Tina. She hired me in a place up in the northern part of Zealand, which is the peninsula where Copenhagen is located on. Very fast, she fell in love with me. I fell in love with her, and we started dating. And she was the CEO.
Okay. She was
As
your boss.
yeah, she was my boss. This is a real Me Too story.
Yeah.
No. She looked at me, and she saw something creative and something good in me. And I know I'm creative. I've worked in some very good restaurants, but she saw something which I couldn't see myself. Like truly, I didn't believe it at least, but she believed in me. And she got pregnant, and
Uh-huh.
then she looked at me and said, "Now you need to make a decision," because I was living a little bit in both worlds
Yeah.
still. A little bit, hanging with my friends, when time was, and not very healthy relationships. Let's
Okay.
call it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And she looked at me and said, I'm pregnant. So if you want to be with me and be a father, and with her kids, she has 3 kids from her previous marriage. I
Yeah.
have one from my first marriage. If you want to start a family, now is the time you make that decision that you haven't made. And it was very easy.
Yeah.
I just looked at her and went with her. But then she also said, but what will make you happy? Because it's also about finding your purpose in life, so you don't search for it, like,
Yeah.
because if you're a little bit like, how to say, out of space, if you don't know where your emotions are supposed to go, then you search for an outlet for that as well,
Yeah.
and then it comes out sometimes as aggression, a little bit of
Yes.
like, and
Yeah.
all this when you're insecure, and you can say that it always comes down to the self.
Yes.
It's only, the biggest change you can make is changes within yourself,
Yeah. Hmm.
because that will affect everything around you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So she kind of not forced me, but she made me make that decision myself.
Yeah. And how
And
do you
then
work together now? How do you, what's the, um, you're a partnership. So how do you and Tina work together now?
I'm in the kitchen, she's in the front of house.
Yeah.
But in reality, people say Eric Vildgaard, 3 stars, a chef patron, and all this. And yes, it's my restaurant, but I'm just borrowing it from my wife, because she's the real strong part of this operation, to be honest. She makes everything possible because she is supporting all my crazy ideas. She
Yes.
never says no. And if she says no, it is within good reason.
Yeah.
So she really believed in me and believes in me and believe in the project, and then she's adding the utmost, like the best hospitality in the world. I
Yeah.
think we have. I think it's very warm and caring, and
It is
like
very
Paris as a
like a
person.
family, actually. It
Yeah,
feels like you're in a family and very nurturing family environment.
yeah. We also opened the restaurant on the premises of making a restaurant that could be a restaurant we would like to be diners in ourselves,
Yes.
in
Yeah.
food we would love to eat ourselves. And I think that Tina comes across with that in the dining room, and I do hope and believe that the food is yummy, so like, because that is the intention. Of course, we work on a high level of cuisine. I do understand that, but it can never lose the yummy factor.
No.
It always needs to have that yum, because we are cooking dinner for people. It's not about only cooking the chef's vision and, oh, I dreamed about something. It sometimes becomes a little bit on the wrong premises for me, the way I look at fine dining. And that's also why we opened Jaw now,
Yeah. Well,
in the
can you
form
tell
of
us a little bit about Yonye and how would you describe the food, the purpose, that, and a little bit more at the, I guess, philosophical level that of Yonye? How do you talk about it?
my cooking style. I normally say I'm a Nordic raised, French trained, and Japanese inspired. And that is some mix of flavors you have right there, and techniques, and the visual presentation. First and foremost, it comes down to the ingredient. It's all about the product. We are product driven restaurant. We are nothing without great products.
Yeah.
And then we also cook with generosity in our cooking, because I believe that when you go to a fine dining restaurant, and this is only my opinion. It's not because it's the truth, but I do find that sometimes I don't go to a fine dining restaurant to eat mackerel.
Yeah.
No, I go to a fine dining restaurant to eat turbot,
Hmm.
lobster, because that is for me what I'm searching for if I'm going out to dine on a high level, where it's also very costly to eat. So I do think that it needs to represent the value that you pay,
Yeah.
needs to be represented on the plate. So we have a generous amount of caviar, and we
Yeah.
have always truffle is part of the menu if in season, but for everyone, it's never an add-on because
Yeah.
I think very often that I went to Paris the first year we opened,
Hmm.
and back then we had like a sub. You could buy supplement cheese, you could buy an extra dish and caviar, and you could add on truffles and all this, you know, more sale, for the restaurant to generate a little bit more money. But it's good in some restaurants to add value on top of your the guest bill,
Yeah.
but not in a fine dining restaurant where you come to get a tasting menu, the chef's vision, like, or what is the intention of the dish,
Yeah.
and it should have been thought through all the way. But we went to visit a very very good colleague and a very good friend's restaurant. He's a two-star chef and he's a very very talented chef. And I sat there and he served me a dish. His waiter served me a dish, and instantly, because I'm a chef, as soon as the plate hits the table, we start eating. And the waiter came, no, 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 no. So, okay, I did something wrong. Then number one, it's not a nice experience. Like to feel, what? Am I eating wrong or what's going on? No, no, you want to add caviar? I said, do I? Do I want to add caviar? I said, yes. So the dish becomes better if I add the caviar. Yes, yes, yes. I was like, it pissed me off in such a way
Yeah.
that I cannot describe it, because I was like, so you're telling me the chef is sending me a dish which is like only 50%, and then
Yeah.
I have to buy the 50% on top.
Yeah. That makes it.
In my book, it's called cheating.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because imagine if you're like a student inviting your girlfriend for her birthday to this super expensive establishment, and you sit there and you just want to be like treating her like a princess,
Yeah.
and then the waiter comes and asks, "Oh, so you want to put 50 pounds on top?" And you're just like, "Oh, you just saved for a year just to be able
Yeah.
to drink
The
water and
impossible
have dinner with
choice.
her."
Yeah.
And to put people in that situation, it's not. It cannot be the intention of fine dining, like hospitality.
Yeah.
It cannot be, because it's more different if it's an a la carte restaurant where you have the choice. You can go for the mackerel or you can go for the turbot with the caviar.
Yeah.
It's up to you. It's up to your wallet. It's more business in that sense. Fine dining is of course it's a business model, but I don't think any chef in the world cooks with the intention of making money. To
Yeah.
be honest, we very if we can give you more, we would love to give you more.
Yeah.
It's about pouring out your soul on the plate.
Yeah. And sharing
Okay?
that.
And
Yeah.
sharing, because all the best memories in your life, whoever listened to this, everything you don't remember what happened on your 34th birthday, but you remember what you ate.
Yeah. Absolutely.
If it was a standout dinner,
Yeah.
you remember, oh yeah, we went to the pub and we had like this, and yeah, you remember that, but you don't really remember what CD you were gifted.
Yeah, I've had the benefit of eating your food, and there are so many dishes that stand out. One of your umami rich, you would call them a snack maybe, but the lobster takoyaki with the caviar and the lardo and the truffle, that we actually discussed before we chatted to you, the feeling of generosity. What can you just describe for listeners that are joining today, some perhaps how that generosity manifests itself in other dishes? Can you just talk through an example of a dish where really that generosity and time really comes through?
I think generosity comes through in all the dishes.
Yeah.
Yes, it's hard to single out one dish. Of course, if you look at generosity towards like black pearls in terms of caviar, it's
Yeah.
one thing. But the thing, we always go the extra length to get the best ingredient. I will use the king crab. King crab legs is by everybody knows they're super expensive.
Yeah.
So when we opened the restaurant, I put a dish with king crab, but it was like the majority of all king crabs arriving frozen in a box
Yeah.
from the North Atlantic, Canada,
Yeah.
and it's nice and good. There's nothing wrong with it. It absolutely fine. Then I was like handed a live king crab from Kirkenes in the northern part of Norway, a live one. I was like, I never seen a live king crab. I don't think the most people haven't seen a live one and standing with it in their hands at least. And instantly we cooked with it, and I was like blown away. And the
Right.
texture,
Yeah.
flavor, super sweet. Because when you freeze like seafood over time, it becomes a little bit anemic on the
Yeah.
flavor. A little bit sour, a little bit. It's like, but this was like, it was an epiphany for me. It's like,
Yeah.
wow, what is going on? So I called my supplier and I said to him, Hjalte, can I get these in every day? And he laughed first and said, I said, hey, can we get them? He said, are you insane? I said, yes, probably I am, but I didn't call you to get insulted.
Yes.
I'm calling you to ask if you can do your job. He said, that's crazy. You know the price point on these?
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of understand they're a little bit more expensive. He said, but are you serious? I said, yes, I'm dead serious. So we systemized it so we got like 4 king crabs a day for the
Yeah.
restaurant.
Okay. Yeah.
Live, arriving live from Norway
Wow.
because of the quality. The first invoice, Tina came to the kitchen. She never says no, but she came and she was a little bit pale. And she was like, they must have made a typo. Like,
Some extra
and
zero.
the price is like then it was 5 times the price of king crab.
Yeah.
Like it's super expensive. And you also buy the body which you can't basically use. There's a little bit of meat in the shoulders, but
Uh-huh.
basically you buy a lot of wastage.
Yes.
So, and then I cooked her a piece, and she was like, okay, I
No.
understand.
Yeah.
Yeah, because she has the same vision of what quality is.
Yeah.
And for me, that's also part of the generosity because that made, and it happened a few times throughout the history of the Iona, when we have made that switch because up until it became systemized, and other restaurants started using king crab like Noma,
Yeah.
they started to have it on the seafood menu the
Yeah.
year after we opened. Then it became more accessible. And by accessibility, it also, the cost price goes down.
So,
But somebody has to do the initial
yeah.
pull. And then we did that,
The
even if we're
framework.
self-financed little restaurant.
Yeah.
We don't have investors. We live of our restaurant and the restaurant lives of us, so it's a symbiosis. So if we don't make money, we can't spend the holidays
Yeah.
on a tropical island with the kids. So, that year, for sure, we didn't travel because it was very costly. And, it was, but it's not, we're not missing anything, but we just like sacrifice everything on the altar of quality
Yes.
because that is the real generosity is to give your guest the best possible ingredient because there's many bad ingredients. It's very easy to compose a bad meal. Just go
Yeah.
to a Danish supermarket and buy your groceries.
Yeah.
Then you're halfway there. And I do think that when you go to my restaurant at least, what I want to convey is like that, quality feeling, that sense of being a royalty in my restaurant, but
Mhm.
at the same time being relaxed in the chair, feeling part of it's like coming home to us.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but we are not so posh at home, I would say, as the restaurant is. but 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 the feeling is the same. I don't change when I come into work. It's not like I'm putting on an alter ego being Chef Vildgaard or Tina is not changing her personal appearance. She's just being Tina, also in the restaurant. But and we live for service, and that's our drive,
Yeah.
our everyday drive. It's like to see people happy and people being fed.
Yeah.
It's very basic, and all chefs and all restaurateurs, all industry people share that.
Yeah.
Or else, if you don't find joy in that, then it's a very tough industry to be in.
Yeah. Can you take us through the journey of a dining experience at Yongye? When we've talked previously, I know about this, and you like to start with those big umami flavors to really awaken the senses. Can you just explain? That's obviously the first part of the journey. Can you just explain what the kind of flow of that journey is for us?
When you arrive to the restaurant, you're going out to eat because you're hungry.
Mm.
So very often, I found that the snacks, if they're not sufficient, then you sit there being hungry all the way into like halfway into the meal,
Yeah.
and then you taste different. And then you don't have, you're hungry, so you eat fast.
Yeah.
In a sense of like you're not tasting the food right. So when you arrive to my restaurant, you will be served 6 to 8 different snacks, which all have like they're small, very fulfilling bites. Like we have tuna toro with Kaluga caviar, Mitsubishi soy, Myoga, Hanaho flowers, and Orochi from Hakone turnips, served in a rice flour tartlet. I mean, if a cheeseburger, this was on gourmet level, this is like the royale with cheese, like it's like it's the top, it's like all the best ingredients. Almadraba tuna from Cadiz and all these luxurious ingredients together. But when you bite it, it's like everything comes together and it's like full umami, and it's like, and you settle that little hunger. After the bites, you're like, you're ready to taste. So we give you an impact of salt, umami, fat, like because that's what you're craving. So when you're snacky, you open a pack of crisp
Yes.
because you're craving salt, sugar, fat.
Yeah.
That's why you're instantly is doing that, because I know we should eat an apple, but when you're snacky, that's not what you want. So when you're in my restaurant, I don't want you to eat an apple at the beginning of the meal. I want you to feel like indulge into the whole night, like feeling, oh, okay, that's very comforting. Because then the first dish in the menu is hand dive scallops with berries, always in some form or format.
Yeah.
It's been on the menu as a steady feature since the opening.
Yeah.
So now I'm actually considering to change it in the next new menu. So new things are coming.
Watch this space. Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm not sure yet. So because it does work for me with that freshness from the live scallops
Yeah.
with
Okay.
its acidic berry sauce. Always, it's like a palate cleanser. But it's also, if you look at it from a musician's perspective, it's like the grand opening with the snacks, like woo,
Yes.
and then it slows down, and the strings are falling in,
Yeah.
and then it starts progressively building on top of each other, and
Yeah.
then we have like, the meal is like up and down in intensity, because if you just stay on that note where we start, the logical step after the snacks would be to serve you a grilled tomahawk steak
Yeah.
with sauce bottle eggs, like boom, and a big glass of red wine,
Yeah.
because that is what it's leading up to. And by taking it down a notch, you're like also making the diner, and I hope my guests, they feel a little bit like moved in a sense, not just on emotions, but also on the sensoric part about eating, the conception of the meal. I do think it works.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you're right. You go with the menu sort of ebbs and flows after the big start, but the big start sets you up. It awakens and alivens the senses, doesn't it? So that you can appreciate the nuances of the dishes that are then to come. You were talking then about the snacks and the scallops then. Meat is notable by its absence on the menu. Is that a positive choice for you,
It's a
and why?
No, but it's a very positive choice. Number one, we had meat in the menu in the beginning. The first year of Yona, we had meat. But the game season came and the flying game arrived, and it was like standing, cleaning blood from the carcass of ducks.
Mhm.
Wild shot, and they had a very beautiful life until they arrived to the restaurant. And it was a very good dish. But it was just a cold, dead carcass. It was like, in some way, it was like, and that made me think, we live a life where I only do this because it's expected of us to serve your red protein in the menu. And why is that? Because we're being taught that's how it is. All your meals from the morning, you have a croissant with ham and cheese, and
Yeah.
you have a snack in the office, and everything is with meat and processed meat and meat everywhere. I do eat meat, but I decided for myself a long time ago that I wanted to live a life where I feel that I'm adding meat to my diet as a bonus. So when I eat a big porterhouse, I feel like I get the same feeling as my guest hopefully is getting here. I'm feeling like I'm treating myself with a nice piece of meat, and then I also have enough money by not eating meat every day because meat is very costly.
Yeah.
To buy that great piece of meat, which has not been, treated with animal cruelty and all this, because it's the essence of that is, I don't want to support an industry that is mistreating animals.
Hmm.
All our fish here comes from sustainable sources. Like everything is gillnet caught, line caught, like
Hmm.
something that doesn't impact the environment and with no bycatch and all this.
Yeah.
So we are not damaging the ocean because we are living in a world where we are like I think it was 2 months ago we finished up the resources of the planet
Yeah.
because we need to have meat in 6 meals a day.
Yeah.
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 So if we start to think about it, I'm not saying I have this solution for this, but I think like I started saying that the biggest change you can make is within yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So if we all look at it like that and don't worry about the hole in the ozone layer,
Hmm.
but worry about what we impact the
Yeah.
world with.
Yeah.
And then I have a platform with my restaurant where I decided to was standing there, say, I know I don't want this. And my sous chef at that time, it
Yeah.
was 2 o'clock in the afternoon. He looked at me with panic in his eyes. He said, "What?" So the dish is off. I said, "Chef, what do you mean?" So it looks like we're having duck for staff food for a while. What do we do? Say, I called the fish supplier and say,
Yeah.
do you have any gillnet caught turbot? They say, yeah, I have two beautiful pieces right here. I say, okay, I'm coming out to get them.
Yeah.
So we got the turbot and we made a turbot dish, and it's like became the turbot dish which have been seen online from my restaurant.
Yeah.
Turbot with a farce of langoustines with shiso and then wrapped in truffle with a
Yeah.
yuzu coche blanc. It became that dish. And it was like, I feel so much better because when you go and grab a turbot which has lived a good life, ended its days in a decent way, and you take it, you smell it, it smells of sea, it has like slimy skin, the
Yeah.
gills are pink, beautiful, the eyes are shining, and it's like you can smell the sea. It's like it's a live product, even though it's not alive. It's like vibrant. I don't have the same feeling when I open a vacuum bag with a piece of a red muscle tissue.
Yeah.
It's like not that there's anything wrong with it. I'm just saying for me, it doesn't tick the boxes. Like
Yeah.
as a chef, I don't feel it's in no way creative to cook a steak.
Yeah.
I I worked as a butcher before as
Yeah.
one of my jobs in between, everything.
Mhm.
And it's like I have the utmost respect for good quality meat.
Yeah.
It's just very difficult to find because all the farming areas are being taken up by mass production, which
Mhm.
needs to happen very fast. And you know, on the altar of that, we put too much medicine inside. So you and I, we eat this, and then we feel all of a sudden we can't get rid of diseases. We're all getting cancer.
Mhm.
Everything is like because we are feeding a food system that is, in my opinion, no way working. Because we just need to overproduce. But that's I don't know, for a different topic.
Yeah.
It's
Well, no, I think the dish that you just described a few moments ago, if I remember correctly, was the turbot with the langoustine farce and the yuzu kosher beurre blanc, and that really characterized, I think, for me, the influences. I mean, you talked earlier on
yeah.
about being a Nordic chef that was French trained with Japanese influence, which I think. Can you just talk a little bit more about those influences and how they, yeah, how do they work together, and what else perhaps influences your cooking and your style as well?
I mean, inspiration comes from all sides in your life. It can be being on the playground with the kids,
Yeah.
One of our best desserts, which we had in the early days of Jona, was wild raspberries because we were on the playground, and then I was halfway into this the thorn bush, like
Hmm.
I'm bleeding on my arms and picking berries, and the kids was like, "Wee!" on the swings, and I was like, and then next to it there was hip roses and unripe blackberries,
Hmm.
and I was like, the combination of these three things together was like nothing groundbreaking, roses and berries. It's like, hey, it's seen before, but that flavor of the unripe, like the small green uh, blackberries, there was like this, and I found that you should pickle them and cook them and everything because if you eat them raw, it's not good for you, apparently. But I did, and it was like a vanilla taste which I haven't tried before. It was a new flavor for me.
Yeah.
It was like something uh, with a hint of like warm spices like
Yeah. Okay.
allspice,
Yeah.
vanilla,
Yeah.
super tasty. So went home, and of course, we made this because we had like a big bag of roses because I have five girls, one boy.
Uh-huh.
That's my kids. And back then it was we didn't have our son, but we had the five girls. Emma was in a carry, so picking for making perfume at home, with the kids, and it's like smelling of roses, eating berries, and then so that was that inspiration for that dessert. In the Asian influence, like my Japanese
Mm.
touch, which I don't in any way. People say it, I don't say it. I don't cook. I have Japanese inspiration
Yeah.
because I decided to do a dashi. When I removed red meat from my menu, I wanted to enhance the umami around in all the rest of the dishes.
Yeah.
And for me, dashi can do that. In some servings, you need a little dashi because of the umami. And I made an dashi from generic Danish seaweed, table salt, tap water, and generic mirin. And it was nowhere near a dashi. So I was being taken from being that hyper ego one who wants to cook a dashi to
Yeah.
understand that I knew nothing about cooking a dashi. And that journey started for me, like it intrigued me to being interested in understanding the processes behind the technique of making a dashi. And that's a rabbit hole. When you jump into that rabbit hole, you're gone. It's like Alice in Wonderland because
Okay.
it's so deep, that rabbit hole.
Yeah.
Um, and I grew as a chef by taking that step back and looking at my own skills from the outside. So that's the Japanese influence that always trying to understand what we're doing.
Yeah. Okay.
And then of course the Nordic influence. I worked with Rene,
Yeah.
most amazing chef in the world.
Yeah.
He altered like alternated the whole way we think food.
Yeah. Yeah.
All of us, at least we're starting to see that the vision he worked from is now starting to set in also in the industry, and
Yeah.
people are starting to be more conscious about everything we do, yeah, in life around food.
You mentioned Rene there, and the fine dining has evolved considerably. I mean, it's on a continually evolving journey, but certainly over the last sort of 20 years, we've had the Ferran, more molecular era, and of course, as you referred to, the new Nordic era with Rene driving that. In your mind, where are we now? What era are we in? And I suppose quite importantly, your views on where do you think we're going? What do you think the future, the direction is for fine dining?
I think we are in a time where this hype about being hyper like terroir driven is
Yeah.
of course not to take anything away from it, but if you look at France,
Hmm.
in Burgundy, they eat bœuf bourguignon
Hmm.
because that is what they have available. Mushrooms, onions, and good beef and good red wine. So they eat bœuf bourguignon. They have been doing like terroir kitchen for ages
Yeah.
in Persia, the founding kitchen of the world. They eat like very local. They eat walnuts, pomegranate, because that's what's their terroir is giving them. So that the fact that we saw an up like a blooming with the new Nordic kitchen that we cook
Nordic because we are living in the north. Of
Yeah.
course, it's like, of course, our great granddads and moms done that, but we strained away from it in the industrial era. And then, like we just briefly talked about before this, everything needs to be fast, and oh, ground beef, ground beef, ground beef, everything it needs to be grounded so we can't see what we're eating. It's like, and that trend, like that, all of a sudden you have strawberries for Christmas
Yeah.
from Israel.
Mhm.
You have potatoes from Egypt, new potatoes in November from Egypt, like new spring tomatoes from a greenhouse in the Netherlands, because we want everything at once. Renee flipped that upside down, said, "Hey, what do we have available here, and what is not a common ingredient? How can we work with that?" And that these two things are merging now, and it becomes a little bit healthy relationship because it's in some way, in my opinion, it's both outposts on both sides, like pro and con, like, and it's always good with a harmony. And I
Yeah.
think that we start to see also, I ate at Noma recently, there's truffle. We don't have truffles in Denmark, like, at least not Milan Spawn, which they are cooking with. And we're starting to see they use truffle because yummy is still a factor. We work with in the industry. And for some years, I think that Renee's vision was not about making yummy food. It was about changing the perception of how we value food.
Yeah.
So, and now he also came home a little bit, like truffles, a little bit of caviar every now and then, and
Mhm.
like these things that makes a gourmet meal stand out. So
Yeah.
fine dining is heading in a direction where we are becoming more conscious about how we maneuver in within sustainability, how we are looking at how we treat the animals,
Mhm.
which I think is very important. So, and we also see foie gras.
Mhm.
Let's say that it's the evil, but is it really? Because the ducks and the geese, they produce foie gras themselves, and
Yes.
then they fly to Egypt.
Yeah.
And 5,000 years ago, there's writings about when the birds from the north they arrive, the golden liver sent by the gods goes for the pharaoh.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's all about not industrializing it. And
Yeah.
then I could easily use wild foie gras
Mhm.
in my restaurant without hesitation, but I would not buy a piece of foie gras which is force fed with fat and corn and
Yeah.
greens. Of course not. But we start to think about that, and more producers are starting to think about it, and that's where we're going with fine dining. We're in a transit which is also very important for the times we're living in right now.
Yeah.
We're
Okay.
seeing a lot of wars, a lot of like conflicts in the world, like nations falling apart almost. So we need to have like that comfort, and I do think that it also reflects on how fine dining is moving, that it's like becoming more embracing.
Yeah.
Not it's moving away from being a snobbish thing. Of course it's never gonna be a cheap experience. So
Yeah.
of course it leaves out some people in the fine dining. But what is fine dining? We have talked a lot about it on this talk here, because fine dining can also be the moment that you eat it. If you make a burger at home, like let's say a plant-based burger, it's perhaps not the greatest burger in the world for to your guest that you serve it, because
Mm.
you made it with an intention. It becomes an outstanding meal. So it's all about how we are trying to convey the message of fine dining, I would say.
Yeah.
And for me, fine dining is about embracing people, and it's about embracing good ingredients and making people feel loved.
Yeah.
Because I think it's also for me personally something I crave, as I like my soul needs to make people feel loved, because I've been searching for love my whole life
Yeah. Okay.
up until I met my wife Tina, and now I found it, and now I want to share it.
Yeah.
So
Well, I was just picking up on that thread, and you've referred to Tina and your children. You're clearly as busy outside of the restaurant as you are inside of the restaurant. And I just wanted to ask you how you balance running a three-star restaurant with family life, and a little bit about your model, because one of the initial observations right from the first contact point when booking a table is the first thing you notice is that unlike perhaps other restaurants, you're not open all of the time, not open lunch and dinner 7 days a week. So just tell us a little bit about your model and why it is that way.
We opened the restaurant 7.5 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Back then we were open 7 days a week, lunch and dinner. It was me, a chef, like a sous chef, and a student in the kitchen, Tina on the floor. Tina had just given birth 5 months before to our daughter, Emma. We were busy, and Tina has three girls with her ex-husband, and I have one with my ex-wife. So 5 kids and a busy restaurant. Very fast we realized we're not gonna last in this industry if we work so hard. So we scaled back to only being open 5 days a week, only for dinner, because there was no grounds for having like a lunch restaurant here back then. There's no people in the street, people have to travel here. Then we had 1 star. We were fully booked. Then in the summer 19, we started to see a decrease in the bookings, because the hype from 1 Michelin star doesn't last forever. You're always going to be a good restaurant, but you get a lot of attention and then it dies out. It's very natural. Then the winter of 2020, the bad winter of 2020, we received the 2nd star.
Mm-hmm.
And the bookings went through the roof. It was crazy. It was like, wow, we could just see bookings. And then I looked at Tina and I said, for me, success is time with the kids.
Yeah.
So the kids are in school and kindergarten in the days, like weekdays. Let's try to close on Saturdays. And Tina was, do you believe that is a good choice? To say, we have a set menu. The average spend is going to be the same on a Tuesday as on a Saturday, more or less. But are you sure it's going to work? Say, I'm pretty sure it's going to work. So we decided to say that success for us is not about adding an extra opening day and making more money, because money can't buy time. And time is the most valuable currency in the world.
Yeah.
And time with your kids, of course, in the weekdays, we don't see them as much as we would wish for, but I do believe that we see them as much as other people working in all industries.
Yeah.
But then we at least decided to say, okay, on the weekends, when they're off from school and all their, dance classes, all this, we have time with them.
Yeah.
So we can be a family, which have a work-life balance. And actually, by doing so, we added more value, also economy-wise, to the restaurant.
Yeah, okay.
For some strange reason, because after that we saw a rise in, every year a little bit better.
Mm-hmm.
So as a business model, it works. Let's just say 4-day work weeks, it works.
Yeah.
Because then you also get to compromise the intensity, of what we do, so we can be, instead of having 5 days of being perhaps 80-85%, because it's a long week, then you have like 4 days on 110. You're just pushing through, and it's like excitement also for the team. They can have a life. They're not always have to say no to attending a birthday party, which we all know that chefs, we are antisocial beings, because we are just in the kitchens.
Yeah.
And we can never be there for any celebrations for friends or family, because we have to work. So in that sense, it made sense also for the team.
Yeah.
And we became happier.
Yeah.
And we think that happiness is the key to success.
Yeah. And that's definitely mold breaking, I think. So leading the way, a bit like your example of the king crab. It's doing something differently, disrupting the norm.
Yeah, because now you see in the Copenhagen food scene, at least we start to see many of our colleagues on also 2 and 3 star level
Yeah. Okay.
following that and being closed on the weekends
Yeah.
because it works.
Yeah.
And if you want to go out a Saturday night, and for me it's about being a group of friends together.
Yeah.
Have to be a little bit noisy, probably have a few having sharing plates. For me, that's a Saturday night out. Like a little
Yeah.
bit of energy, and of course it can also be sitting on one of our tables.
Yeah.
But but I think the majority of people is searching for community, joy
Yeah.
in on a Saturday night. Where hence, if you go out on a Friday night or a Thursday night with your wife, you want to be a little bit just
Yeah.
the two of you, or
Yeah.
a group of four people. Like
Yeah.
that's at least how I see the world. And for
Yeah.
me, and now for our restaurant, it works.
Yeah.
So
My last question for you, Eric, is we've mentioned at the beginning that in May you got your third Michelin star. You're absolutely at the top of your game. What's next? How do you build on that? Where do you go? What have we got to look forward to that's to come from
I
Ionia?
mean, I said since we had the first star, I came down from the stage, and everybody, including myself, was surprised that we had the first star because we came out of nowhere, just a woof, and we were there on like an extended invite, like they say, oh, we extended the guest list, so if you want to come, feel free to come. They sent me that message on Thursday, as it was on Monday, the Michelin Guide. So I didn't expect anything. First star, come down from the stage, super hyped. And I always said, since we opened, within 2 years, there's going to be a Michelin star restaurant in this location. And people laughed because who am I, like an ex-criminal who's a little bit too happy for himself, because I do value happiness in my life, that a little bit, not loony, but like a little bit. Okay, it's not that bad, take it easy, because I've seen the dark side of the moon.
Yeah, right.
So, whatever they throw at me on this side is peanuts, So I'm in a happy position in my life. So that's what first star. Comes down, the interviewer asked me, so what's next? Like you asking me, say, if you can have one, you can have two. Oh, that's very ambitious. Say, yeah, but it's only the dead salmon that follows the current, yeah. So I'm going upstream, all the way up. And then there's people around me say, yeah, but enjoy the first star. 2 stars is going to be very hard to get. 2 years in, we had the second star. So when I came down from the stage and people asked me, so what now? And I said, now I want 3 stars. They didn't laugh anymore. And now I have my 3 stars. There's a very famous British chef called Michael Pure White who said it's a defending game. I beg to differ because I don't need it to be a defending game. It needs to be always an attacking game, because if you start to just follow the current, then you're dead salmon. And I don't want to be a dead salmon. I want to see what's behind the wall. I want to see, okay, what's next?
Yeah.
I don't even know. I didn't know what was next before, because life comes as it comes. But I can guarantee that we're here to stay, and more exciting stuff will happen. Of course, now we are gifted this like accolade of being a 3-star restaurant, which also, of course, opens some doors for the business and for me personally. And I'm gonna choose wisely within all these options that we have of what to do for the expansion of the restaurant.
Yeah.
Or more restaurants perhaps. Who knows? Because it could also be fun to be an entrepreneur in some way and create something that in the future that my kids can live off when I'm no longer here.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It wouldn't bother me. It would be nice. So everything is done with intention, like in the restaurant. There's no, there's no, how to say, playbook. It's not like something we say you have to say like this and this. Because we encourage personalities
Yeah.
to be personal, in the restaurant as well for the service part. But everything is with intention, a good intention, and that is the next step from here is also with intention.
An attacking game with good intention, right?
Yes. Yeah, but when I say an attacking game, it's like I've seen, and I think that the most people can relate to this. Some restaurants which had like 15 years ago had 3 stars, then it's still like that now.
Yeah.
No, so I don't want to be that restaurant that dies out with the 3rd star.
Yeah.
And just say, okay, that's it, benchmark, we just stay there. I want to be relevant in my own world in 10 years time as well.
Yeah.
In 20 years time. So
fantastic.
I'm gonna go upstream still. And what's more than 3 stars? There's nothing more, because the only 100% trustworthy accolade, in my opinion, and that's my only Eric Vildgaard's opinion, is the Michelin Guide.
Yeah.
They are diners representing the diner, the guest in your restaurant. They come unannounced, anonymous, pay the bill, leave, and evaluate their meal.
Yeah.
On their scale. You cannot influence them. You cannot add something extra.
Yeah.
To buy their vote. To be honest. And so for me that's very transparent. It's fair and easy, and people can always discuss, okay, if this is 3 stars and why is he not 3 stars and all this. But people also need to remember that the Michelin Guide is an independent guide.
Yeah.
It's their terms and conditions. And if you play within what they value as a 3-star restaurant, then you're a 3-star restaurant.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's up to them. It's not up to us. What's up to us is to do our very best for all the guests in the restaurant, and not single out 1 or 2 diners who wants to be important in my restaurant.
Yeah.
Because all guests are important. People who arrive to my kitchen, they say, "Oh, do we have any VIPs today?" We only have VIPs.
Yeah.
Really, all guests are important.
Yeah.
There's no difference. That's also why I add truffle and caviar for everyone, because I don't want people to sit back with a feeling of being less.
Yeah. I can honestly say that everything that you've talked about today absolutely plays out in the dining experience. So I thank you for bringing that to life, for giving us that inside perspective from the other side, if you like. Honestly, a huge thank you from Team TFP and all of the 2024 Summit audience for sharing that insight, that expertise, that knowledge, that perspective. Honestly, it's been absolutely fascinating. And we could carry on talking for some time, but honestly, thank you on behalf of us all for joining 2024 Trend Summit. It's been a real honor to speak to you. So thank you, Eric.
It's been my pleasure to be part of it. Thank you so much.